The way this is going right now, though, I could see Chalamet being in the new Game of Thrones, but they're talking about doing a continuation, everybody. Can we talk about that? All right, everybody. So
I never noticed there's people talking in that little bumper. It's like you have the chatter of people.
Yeah, we're talking.
Talk?
Right, you like that? That wasn't. It didn't used to be there. I had that a while ago. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun. But George R.R. Martin recently was talking about teasing the new Game of Thrones. Of course, we got so many spin-offs, The House of the Dragon. We're talking about going back even further. But Maisie Williams and him recently sat down. They got together for what he said was pizza and pasta. And he said, well, we talked about, no, we better not get into that right now, because if we talk about that, it might not actually happen. So let's not actually talk about that. But then we got some great ideas we're talking about, so we don't want to jinx it right now. So there's been this word going around, and of course, there's one of the higher-ups over at WB was talking about this too, saying that, the Jon Snow project was canceled, but they're hoping they can maybe try for that again, a continuation of what happened with Game of Thrones. And now with the idea of maybe bringing Maisie back and having her character come forward too, that's at that same time frame. Maybe this is their twist. They've been trying to figure out how to make it work. And if George R.R. Martin wants to do it, and they said they're still very much in bed with this guy, regardless what he wants to do, because as I said, it's like a bad marriage sometimes. Sometimes they fight, but all the time they come back together, and they believe in everything he's doing. But if he has an idea for something like this, and then the Jon Snow one can happen, the continuation can happen, we get, of course, have that original cast come back maybe, because I think at the end of the day, a lot of people really kind of bitter about how it ended and how it ended up going down after all the time they invested in it and were excited about it. And then the ending comes, everyone's like, it's a big... And that's how I kind of feel about it too. So I think this is good. The question is, though, I shout out to everybody here in the chat and everybody here on my panel right now. Is that something that should happen with this franchise? Because a lot of franchises try to dive back in and have a continuation years later, right? And sometimes it falls flat. Look what's happened with Dexter. We were talking about that on Friday. They did the spinoff, and that I feel like was worse than we had for the ending. So much so we're doing another season after that, after you kill the man off, because people were still mad. Could it go that route for Game of Thrones? What do you think, Angela? Do you think that could be the route, that it could be like maybe bad, like leave it be what it is, do your prequels, do all that, let it be? Or do you think that maybe it's worth delving back in there with, Maisie maybe, taking over, or Jon Snow, and actually making this, continuation of this franchise?
I think people were originally, after all that, after all the series was done, I was ready for more. I'm like, okay, I knew they had like prequels and sequel. There could be all kinds of stuff for it. So I knew that there would be something, right? You just had to get the initial seasons out, and then now we have like House of Dragon and all that stuff. So I figured absolutely that they were going to do more, like talk about more of the houses, give us more background, because people were obsessed, right, with Jon Snow and the whole all that whole dynamic and dichotomy with all the different families. Obviously, predominantly between it was Jon Snow and then the Starks, the House of Dragon,
Targaryens.
Right?
Yeah,
it was all Targaryen. Everything's kind of we wanted to understand that dynamic. Maybe they're gonna bring more of the Baratheons, and I don't know. There's a lot there that I feel like. I'm a avid fan, so I would. Obviously, I'm an avid fan. I would love to see Arya. Back in there. I think that would be great. People loved her. Maybe some of the if you brought back some of the cast, but depending on what they're going to be working on, bring back some of the original cast and then add some new, just like we're seeing now, House of Dragon. That did really well. That's a whole new cast, right?
Would they make Jon Snow king, you think, though, if they went back and did it?
I know that the ending part is always would we go back to I don't want to spoil it for those who haven't seen it, but just whatever. That's what the show's, I guess, kind of for. We have to talk about this stuff. So at the ending, I didn't think he'd go, if he goes, when he went back to that place, I'll just say, I think that maybe they'll talk about, because he's basically the king of the North then, essentially, right? The real North, right? That's what kind of was the ending. He's going to be the king of the North, essentially. So
Jon Snow.
Yeah, of of the whatchamacallit. What are those people? What was the name of those
Uh,
group?
Westeros, and no,
No,
is
the ones that are not the White Walk, but where they came from, that like icy.
White Walkers. Yeah.
What were those people called? Wildlings. The Wildlings. Sorry.
Oh, that's right. The Wildlings. You're right.
Yeah, the Wildlings. That's where he went back. So I guess he's like the new Wildling, based on how they made it look. So I don't know. Like, that's what I'm saying. I'd like to know. I'd like to see, is he going to be something else? I mean, like, he kind of fell off too. Like, Kit Harington kind of disappeared. I mean, he's been in some stuff, but nothing's been like, he was like, that was like
It was his bread and butter. It was big for him.
All the way, launched him into launched him in that time. Was everywhere, but now he's just kind of like, what happened to Kit, So
it's funny. He's got a show on Max, and I never knew it was even there. They've done like multiple seasons. I'm like, there's no advertising for this, and I never even knew it was happening. And like Tim was in the chat. Him and I were like watching Max the other day. He's like, dude, like, you've not seen this show? And I'm like, nobody knows this show. I'm like, how's this show still going?
I've never heard. I know that show. I'd never even heard of it before. I was like, what? Like, they did no marketing, nothing. I was like, as far as I knew, I'm like, oh, okay. They just like threw it on Max, and like, I guess, I didn't watch it. Is it good? Have you seen it?
I haven't. You know what? I went to go put it on. I was like, nah. I hate to be like that. I was like, yeah. I think something else like flashy caught my eye, and I went away. I think something that happened on Peacock, and I went this way. I watched Twisters, and I was like, and I regret watching that movie ever. I don't know why I wasted my life watching Twisters. That's a great movie to vacuum your house to, everybody. Great movie to vacuum your house to. That's all I gotta say.
Background noise, right?
Yeah, they really should have just like paid, like maybe you should have had, like not had like named actors in here and just like paid for the special effects. It probably would have been better. Twisters, everybody. And whoever you did doing the score for that movie, oh my God, horrible music. Anyways, I go all day about Twisters, but this I was just like, I don't know. I feel like Kit isn't doing much. He had this opportunity he thought was going to happen with Marvel too. He was supposed to be like one of the big Knight characters, like a character, and that kind of fell off too. So a lot of stuff hasn't really worked out for him like it could. But I think Game of Thrones, there's probably an audience to keep going forward, to get people back in there.
Yeah.
Brandon, do you watch this before? Have you watched Game of Thrones? And do you think that even if you didn't watch it, tackling something like this is difficult, right? With the fan base so riled up already, would you ever want to tackle something like that to write that script?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like yes, I watched a few. I watched like the last few seasons of Game of Thrones. I didn't watch it all the way through, but from what I understand, people were disappointed with the ending, and I feel like maybe George R.R. or Martin, weird, terrible name to say, George R.R.
This guy.
Yeah, I feel like, maybe, dude, I think maybe move on to something new, because I mean, I'm sure he's got something cooking, when he's not, maybe put down the pizza, put down the pasta, undo those suspenders and get to work.
Right, and maybe like finish your book. He still hasn't finished that last book, right? Like maybe finish your last book.
I remember hearing about that like they had to like just do the ending for the show because the book wasn't done, but I didn't know it was still not out yet.
It's still not done. So he just like taking his
done.
I just like having pizza and pasta parties.
With all my cast again, discussing the whats and the ifs and the buts and what coulds,
Come on, man.
He pissed her off, obviously.
I think she's pissed she can't get that right now because he ate all the pizza. That's mean. But I still think that he's doing great. He's doing phenomenal. I think he'll be totally fine whatever happens with this franchise.
I'm sure he's a great writer, so it would be nice to see him actually like do something new that we haven't seen before.
He won't let go of he will not let go of Game of Thrones. He won't do it. He's like got that clutch on those nuts, he's squeezing. GR, what do you think about this, GR? Is there still money here to be made for a sequel continuation series, rather it be about Jon Snow or about, of course, Maisie Williams' character? Or do you think, again, what they're doing in the past, they should stick with that? I honestly don't think that House of the Dragon is getting any better. I feel like it's getting worse as it goes along. But, that's me. I saw Angel said the same thing. What do you think, GR?
Well, I'm like secret agent man here. I haven't seen 1 second of that show. And as he said, People were dying of the plague in the Middle Ages. They don't want to talk about. Why are we talking about this time frame? All those people were dying.
Very true.
I don't think it was a. I don't think it's based on a true story, Gr.
Oh, really? You mean they made it up? I'm shocked.
Definitely not nonfiction.
Yeah.
Oh,
but GR though, there's a big fan base. There's a big fan base for this though, GR.
Well, guess what, Brian? I'm happy for them. I just don't happen to be one of them. Okay.
Yeah,
Me and
I get
Secret
it,
Agent Man were watching something better, whatever that was.
The Man from U.N.C.L.E. probably, right?
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
The original, not the remake.
Yeah, not was it Henry Cavill did it or something like that in the movie recently?
No, he acted in it. He didn't do it.
It wasn't for you. Yeah, Henry Cavill, that man's not going anywhere anytime soon. But I don't know. I think there is something here. I think they probably could do some good, but there's always the worry about doing something bad that's even worse. Leaves that taste in the fans' like mouth too. You gotta have a great idea. And if he can't finish like his book, Angela, how is he gonna actually do a continuation, right? How's he gonna do a continuation? He can't finish the book. He doesn't know where he's going with this storyline. How can he do another season?
And doesn't he has some like beef with people right now, right? Doesn't he have some issue?
Oh, really?
He ran into some,
Well,
or wasn't it with
he's
like? He's had a lot of
WB. With WB, they've gone back and forth quite a bit. You know, they've had some beef where he's like shut things down and said he didn't want to do this, and they're changing his plot, and that's not how it should be. And they've gone back and forth. That's why they're saying it's like a disgruntled marriage right there, him and WB, as they go back and forth,
like,
trying to navigate through this.
The world of books, authors, and writers. When it comes to like a movie getting the rights to a book, I mean, they're going to change it to make it work for what's going to bring in eyeballs and money. So it's like that's the thing that sucks.
Well, it depends upon the contract that you write for it.
Yeah.
How much control you have.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
How much did he have in the original one, though? I thought most of that was just Benioff and Weiss doing all the work.
He was still a consultant the whole time. They still went to him. And it was like towards the end where they started going off, I know, and he wasn't having as much input, but he was still getting paid for all of it. Yeah, and he was still very much involved. And I guess they went to him with the ideas about the ending, and he approved of it, I guess, or, said okay about it, but he said that he might still do something different when he does the book. So... I guess that's a soft trial. You like put it out to the fans. Oh, you hate it? I'm not doing that now.
Whatever, man.
Oh,
I love
the
ending. I love the ending because you know who ended up being the king? Brandon.
that's a good call right there. You're right.
No one
ended up getting
no character named Brandon has ever been the king of anything. So
and they still haven't been.
Yeah, that was his name, right? The guy. Brand.
Well, until now. Brand of whatever. But I was still like, but I'm like, him? But okay. He's the eyes of the crows or whatever. So,
he's the
good. He's the crow. He can fly, he can fight, he can, right?
That's right.
You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. But Game of Thrones, apparently George R.R. Martin has ideas to keep moving forward this franchise into the future from where they left off. If you like it, you hate it, you want to tell George R.R. Martin to, get back to the drawing board, let him know right now and let us know what you think about this. I'm iffy about it. I still like when you get a fitting ending for something, and I feel like you had a big ending for this. Maybe just leave it alone.
Yo, player, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when we are live. And if you are able to join our Patreon, please join. Because the Pepestar needs more snickety snacks. Because I'm hungry. Holla back. Love y'all.